Welcome, good morning. My name is Kubeir and I am a CICC licensed immigration consultant, with this channel being everything about Canadian immigration news, updates, processes. We now have some more meat to discuss about what exactly are the proposed changes that IRCC is looking to bring in the very near future. Now, we do not know when the near future is beckoning, but at least we know that these are coming. And now we have some more substantial things to discuss as far as these changes are concerned. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. That's always good to have more people here, because hey, that's the only place on internet, on YouTube, where you get the most credible news on Canadian immigration. Now, the changes has been something which we have speculated a lot, something which we have been expecting ever since the 2021 budget was proposed. At that point of time, Marco Mendicino in the proposed budget had come out and said that they wanted to make changes to the express entry system so that the minister could have the authority to select people based on the labor market priorities. Now, that had already started this speculation. And then came the new NOC 2021, the new tier system in the NOC. Immigration has not yet adopted it. We do expect that these changes will also come into play not anytime soon, probably end of this year, maybe early next year, but definitely not anytime soon. This year's proposed budget also indicated that immigration minister should be given more authority in order to choose the profiles that they wish to invite within immigration and express entry system. Now they have finally tabled the bill so that they can make these changes in express entry. Now, this is the big one. Now, this is an act, right? Immigration Refugee Protection Act, IRPA and IRPA, Immigration Refugee Protection Regulations. Immigration cannot make these substantial changes because it has been directed in the law itself. Now, in order to make changes, they have to first change the law. So the amendment is now being made to change the law so that then they can make the changes in the express entry system. To make the changes in the law, it's not somebody's discretion. It has to be passed by both houses in the government, in the parliament. And it starts with tabling a bill. In this case, Bill C-19 has been tabled. The first reading happened on the 28th of April. After that, there will be second reading. Let me just quickly take you through this so that we know what we are talking about. And this is a legislative process. So notice and placement of the order paper, introduction and the first reading will happen. That's how the bill is proposed, that this is the bill that they want to make and this is the reason why they're trying to do it. Second reading and referral to a committee. So once the bill has been read for the second time, it can be referred to a committee, which would then study the changes, study what the consequences could be. After that, it is a consideration in the committee, the report stage, the third reading, and this is where the adoption will happen. Once it is then accepted and the consideration and it is passed by the Senate, it then basically gets the royal assent. We still need the royal assent from the Governor General, who is the direct representative of the Queen in Canada. And after the royal assent is when this whole bill will come into force. That is when it can come into effect. And from there on, then IRCC can go ahead and make the kind of changes they want to make. Right now, let's go here. And this is the Bill C-19. First reading has happened on the 28th of April. So all those people who are already aware of the Bill C-19, who are freaking out that this might happen from effective July, it will not happen in July for sure. And the reason for that is because it's only the first reading now. The second reading has to happen, and then the proposals and the changes and the amendments have to be made, and then it has to be tabled in the parliament, and then the voting will happen. Then once it is passed in both houses, then it has to go for the royal assent, and that is when it will come into effect. So July is 100% not happening, so just relax now. Let's go into what it talks about. In the amendments of the Act, and these are the main paragraphs, right? 10.31H to 10.31J. And these are basically talking about creation of categories, okay? And when they talk about creating of groups and categories, the establishment of categories for the purpose of the ranking and the criteria for eligibility to be a member of a category. So what basically in a nutshell, IRCC is suggesting that within the express entry system, you already have three programs. You have the Federal Skilled Worker Program, you have Canadian Experience Class, and then you have FSTC, which is Federal Skilled Trade Category. What they're trying to do is they're trying to create categories within the express entry system so that they have a better control on who they invite and based on which factors they invite, which could be based on their education, work experience, language skills, where in Canada they are looking to move to. All this will play a big role, but this is not coming in July for sure. So you can, have a bit of, peace there and not freak out. It will take some time. Let me take you to this is basically the Director General of Policies, and he appeared in front of the House of Commons Committee of Immigration and Citizenship. So let's hear it from him directly.
Proposed amendments being sought through Division 23 of the Budget Implementation Act will build upon Express Entry's existing flexibilities and support Canada's economic recovery and future growth by permitting the department to more easily select candidates that meet a range of economic needs and priorities. More specifically, the amendments authorize the Minister of Citizenship and Immigration to invite foreign nationals to apply for permanent residence through Express Entry on a new basis. The eligibility to be members of a category that would support an economic goal identified by the Minister. Eligibility requirements to be a member of a category would be established by the Minister and could be based on factors such as work experience, educational background, or language skills. For example, if there was a desire to leverage immigration to support the growth of Canada's tech sector, a category of Express Entry candidates would be created based on criteria such as their possession of work experience in their sector occupation and or their possession of a related educational credential. Invitations could then be issued to the top-ranked candidates in that category. The Minister would establish the category through ministerial instructions and post details, including the eligibility criteria, on the departmental website. To support program integrity, the proposed amendments also direct officers to refuse applications from candidates who cannot demonstrate they were eligible to be a member of the particular category. To support transparency around these authorities, the proposed amendments also require the Minister to identify the economic goal they are seeking to support in establishing each category.
On the second area to which I have questions about, with respect to the Express Entry categories, so now the bill does not actually stipulate what categories these are, what sort of jobs categories are we talking about. It just kind of gives broad authority to the Minister to make that determination. So within the bill, it does not provide for parliamentary oversight as to what these groups will be, and there's no process to whether or not these groups will be fair. Like, how would it be fairly chosen, and how would they be selected? So why didn't the officials actually put in a requirement so that the groups that the government are thinking about that they would have to make that list? So exactly who are we thinking about with this provision?
So within, so first the economic goal upon which the invitation is conducted will be in the instruction itself. With respect to process, this is something that is currently being developed. Having said that, just for examples, features such as consultation with employer groups and other stakeholders with awareness of labor market information would be a likely reference, as well as mentioned, the objectives within the Immigration Act themselves. Consultation with colleagues at Employment and Social Development Canada who have knowledge of labor market information. And then finally, consultation with provinces and territories could be some of the areas upon which, when in preparing advice as to what category-based rounds could be conducted upon, could be examples. Thank you.
Do the officials have a list of occupations in mind right now?
Currently, there are no specific occupations in mind.
Well, there you go. Plenty of information there to sort of, chew upon in terms of what's happening. I'm just going to very quickly summarize this. So the categories are going to be created. This is a proposed bill, Bill C-19, which still needs to be approved. At this point of time, it is under deliberation in the Parliament. At once it is being approved, and I'm sure it will be, because I see little resistance there. But as you heard Jenny Kwan, who very clearly asked whether this is going to be fair and on what basis will these categories be created, and you could sort of make you get a gist out of that the categories would be created based on a lot of consultations with the stakeholders, with the ESDC, which is Employment Social Development of Canada, as well as the provinces as well. I know a lot of people have been saying that this would be very, very close to rather something which is what PNPs are doing and provincial nominee programs, and what will be the difference between this and the provincial nominee programs. Well, first of all, how many provinces are there, right? I mean, we've discussed this before. So there is Ontario, okay, and then there is Saskatchewan. So these are the two main provinces who basically will invite based on occupation codes. Alberta, we never really know who they're inviting, so we can't count them. Nova Scotia, once in a while, they will conduct their draws. Who else is there? Of the other provinces who are inviting people based on the occupation code, for example, your British Columbia, you all need job offers. So what about people who are not in Canada? So you only have to rely upon Ontario and Saskatchewan. But even with Ontario and Saskatchewan, the quotas are limited. Obviously, it's not an endless supply of quota. And a lot of times you have to depend on who they're going to be inviting, when they're inviting. And there are obviously some criteria in play as well. So to an extent, this could be quite similar to what the provincial nominee programs are. But I'm sure the PNPs are not going to be happy about it, because that is the only reason why people choose to go to a province, because they will have a better chance of being invited. If federal starts doing the same thing what provinces are doing, then people might not be willing to go to a specific province that the otherwise province has an advantage over. But at this point of time, these will not be coming into effect anytime soon. It will take time. You are looking at probably early next year. That is when this would actually start coming into effect. Something very, very close to when the new NOC 2021 will also be implemented. I have posted the links in the description box. So you have the links for your parliamentary motion as well as the detailed reading of the Bill C-19, which you can take a read and take a look by yourself. It will definitely impact the whole express entry system as to how the draws are conducted. It could actually go down to a person who is CEC, a person who is in a specific occupation, and a person who intends to be in a certain province. It could go down to that. It could go down to a federal skilled worker who has this education, who has this work experience for these many years, who wants to make so-and-so province their home. Those could be the categorization. But that would also, as much as the benefit of being the top scorer in the express entry pool might simply vanish away, because you have work experience in a field that IRCC at this point of time is not considering. So even if you have high CRS score, you might be standing on the shore waiting for your turn to come. But at the same time, people who have a lower CRS score, but whose profile is more conducive to what IRCC considers as beneficial for Canadian economy and society, those people would find themselves right ahead and being considered. So it has a balance in both manners. There will always be people who would not like it. There will always be people who will be left behind in this whole process. But then that is how these kind of systems will always pan out or play out. But in a way, it will create a balance, because a lot of people who would have no chance, whose CRS scores are low, but who do have a rich experience, who have good background, who have good education, but otherwise had no opportunity within the express entry pool, well, those will certainly have a chance, versus people who have a very high CRS score, but have work experience in something which IRCC might not consider important at this point of time. So as I said, it will balance out. Fingers crossed. Let's see as and when these things come into play. So please, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We would like to see those numbers going up. It's always nice to see those numbers going up. Thank you for joining in today. I appreciate it. I wish you all the best, and I shall see you next time. Take care.